never be a problem with computer systems. They'd put some computer system in, and they would put the parameters in, that if this country did this, this country would do this, and this, and this, and this, and it would cross a certain line, and it would just blow the earth up. And so we would all be afraid of doing anything wrong because, well, the earth would be blown up. I'm glad we opted out of that one. Instead, the offshoot was mutually assured destruction that left it in the hands of man. Well, that's a much better plan. We had missiles. If they fired these missiles, we'd fire back. We'd blow up the planet. How many times over could we blow up the planet? Mutually assured destruction. The idea was they would never launch because they knew we would launch and we'd all die. Tragedy and Hope. It's a book by Carol Quigley. I love this. They call him a conspiracy theorist, but yet he's the guy who got Bill Clinton in as a Rhodes Scholar. He has consulted I don't know how many presidents in his day. He was at George Washington University and Harvard University. He wrote a book, and this is the only period in his life that they say he was a conspiracy theorist. He wrote a book called Tragedy and Hope. It was in 1962. He wrote this book and he said, there is a global world order, and I just want to let you know because I've been part of it. And here's what it is. The tragedy is war. The hope comes from global framework, because we can't blow up the earth. The better way, instead of having mutually assured destruction, is to have mutually assured economic destruction. And here's what it was. He said, we've tied all of our economies together. He said in 1962, from here on out, you will never see an all-out war ever again. He said wars will become wars and they'll be fought for a while, but there will never be a real victor in any war. They'll just kind of peter out and they'll just kind of go away, be dragged out. The reason why no one will fight it full on anymore is because we're all tied together economically. And if one country destroys the other country, well, that economically affects the other countries. And so the world has a pressure to keep those countries. You can punish, but don't knock them out. Okay? Make sense? Especially when you see what's happening now over in Greece. This is where the horror show could come. Because he talked about mutually assured economic destruction that would tie all of our economies together and hold them together by making everybody afraid their economy. But they never talked about economics. They only talked about war. They never said, well, what happens if there's a bug in the system? What happens if the United States goes crazy with greed and so does the rest of the world? And what happens if honor goes away? What happens if there's people intentionally trying to screw this system up? You knock out one big economy, you knock out Europe, it knocks out America, it knocks out China, and it's a domino. It's as dangerous as if we would have wired the planet with explosives and then hooked it up to a computer, because that's what we did economically. All of our computers are tied into each other. All of our loans are tied into each other. So when the dominoes start to fall, America cannot fall by itself. Europe cannot fall by itself. China cannot fall by itself. As these regions start to fall, the whole thing falls. The idea that I have had, and I think Singapore is a good example of what's happening. It is true. People right now, I know people with tons and tons of money. I had a guy in my office the other day who said, Glenn, we're in trouble. He's a guy who has billions of dollars. He has, I don't know how many thousands of employees. He works with the stock market. He said, Glenn, I have a floor in a huge Manhattan high-rise. It's empty. He said, I don't want to hire anybody. Because if I hire them, I don't know what New York City is going to do with their taxes. I don't know what they're going to do with their regulations. I don't know if I should move my employees into New Jersey. I don't know if I should move to Texas. I don't know if I should move to London, Singapore. I don't know. There are billions and billions of dollars right now that people put in their pockets. Companies are flush with cash. Banks are flush with cash, but everybody's holding on to them because the whole system is unstable. So how do we get out of this? If you want to get out of this, you have to come up with something that isolates your country and spits it out. spits it out of the destruction. What is that? Stability, number one. Our laws must be stable. Our country must be stable. Civil unrest. Why do you think the communists right now are starting to stir everything up? They need civil unrest for economic destruction to happen. We must be a stable nation. The other things that must happen, you must be able to count on the laws. You must be able to count on the economic laws. We just passed this stimulus bill. You think the health care bill was bad? That's nothing compared to what they just did to us. Nothing. They control every dollar, the flow of every dollar in the U.S. now. Wait until you see what that's going to do to us. It's the exact opposite. By having low taxes, by having a stable government, by having a stable atmosphere, by creating a place to where you say, man, you got a lot of money and an idea, come on over here. We'll build jobs. We'll build that product for you. And if it works, it's great. If it doesn't, you're on your own, Jack. But live within the laws. And if you have a great idea, people are looking for a place to put their money. America has always been that place. It's Singapore now. Singapore. Canada is more stable than we are. No offense to Canadians, but Canada?